Hello folks, and welcome back. So in this edition of BC Renovation Magazine, we're carrying on with our little series here of refinishing the walls and ceilings in this single wide mobile home. On the video today, we're going to spray text these ceilings, which is a texture. So just to give you an idea of what it's taken to get to this point, and we have lots of videos that have come before this video. If you're interested in have a look to see what we did to get to this point, there's a few videos there that you can watch. The ceilings in this mobile home were originally that really heavy popcorn style of ceiling, and that's just an old dated look, and the ceilings were dirty. These ceilings are almost 30 years old, so people have been cooking and stuff in here, and they were just old. And so what we did to prepare for this was, again, there's lots of videos that show you what it took to get to this. If you just look in the playlist there, which will be at the end of the video here, and in the description, you'll get links to go back and look at those videos. But we scraped all of that old popcorn ceiling off and got down to the old drywall. And then from there, what we did, as far as the ceilings go, we did some repairs that had to be done. One thing and another, and then we applied after that we applied a coat of PVA primer to the ceiling, just to basically prime the old drywall that was there and the old mud. Now that old mud was very yellowed. Same with the drywall, it was very yellow. It was old and yellow compared to your new stuff. And so what we did after the PVA primer coat was we applied a coat of stain blocker. So in the last video, I showed you all those products. So if you'd like to see the products that we used for that, just go back to that other video, previous video, and you'll see the description and actually some pictures of the product that we used for that. But the PVA primer is not a sealer, like a stain blocker. It's just a primer. It's a primer sealer, but it's not a stain blocker. So the stain blocker was applied over that to keep that old yellow stuff from coming through from the old drywall and the old drywall mud. If you don't do that, your ceilings will look okay, for a few months, but eventually what will happen is that will bleed through. And so in order to do that, it's an extra step, a little bit of cost. It was a couple gallons. It was less than $100 in stain blocker, to put that stain blocker on there. And so that's where we're at now. At this point is the primer, that PVA primer has been applied. And then after that dried, we applied this coat of stain blocker on top of that. And so now today what we're going to do is we're going to do a light texture on this. So if you look at these ceilings, you might say, they're good enough, just paint it. Why don't you just leave them painted? Well, no, if the light hits this at angles and stuff, you'll start to see the blemishes, and there's lots of blemishes. It's kind of dark in here today. It's overcast day. We've got all this masking up, this plastic up to in preparation for doing the spray job today. And so it looks pretty good, but it's not. When you put the light on it, it's not. It needs work. So in order to get these ceilings in these old mobile homes to the point where you could just paint them and leave them, it's a lot of work. If if you're up to it, you want to do it, or want to pay someone else to do it, then go ahead and do it. But for us, we're flipping these things. And we find that if we do our ceilings this way, it works well. Nobody complains. It's clean, fresh, and it's really a lot different than what the the old popcorn was. So we'll show you that. So today we're going to show you how we spray this. We're going to show you the tools, the equipment, the process, and then once these dry, we're going to follow this up with a coat of ceiling paint, which is just further going to kind of smooth things out and just tone down the the, texture part of it. All right, so I'll give you a little walk through here. So what we've done to prepare for this today, we're going to be using a hopper gun. I'll just show you the materials or the tools here. So we're going to be applying the texture with this hopper gun. Okay, now these hopper guns are not that expensive. If you're going to do a few jobs like this, you can certainly buy it. There's adjustments on the gun here that you can make to control the flow so you can get a heavier or a lighter. We're going to be going on the lightest setting. Basically the way this works is it gets plugged into the air hose. We put the material into this hopper here, and the hopper, it just feeds down by gravity into the gun. The gun is on the bottom here, and the air hose gets hooked up to the gun. So here you can see the air hose is all ready to go here. Here's the compressor right here. So you need some tools and materials for this, or some tools for this. Again, you can rent all this stuff. If you don't have this stuff, you can rent it. Very inexpensive to rent it. So the pressure that we're going to run on this is going to be very low. I haven't got it dialed in yet, but we're going to be around between 20 and 30 pounds of line pressure on it. So very low pressure. We'll adjust that, accordingly. Right now, I don't know if you can see it there, but this is my line pressure here. I'm at about 30 pounds right there. This is my tank pressure here. It's 115. The material that we're going to use, again, kind of similar to the wall mud. We've got the material here. Now this material here is a bit looser, thinner, runnier than what we used on the walls, for the wall fill. This has to be light enough that it's going to feed through the gun. So it's a bit, this is more like, I would say it's kind of like pancake batter consistency. Here the consistency is not as important as it was, when we did the filling on the walls. But the thing of it is you don't want it too loose, but you don't want it too heavy. If it's too heavy, it won't feed through your gun properly, and you have problems with that. So the material, again, I buy the material in these boxes, and so the material was in a plastic bag in the boxes, kind of the same as the drywall mud that we use on the walls. But this is what we use on the ceiling, and so it's called Spanlight. I'm not really sure how much different it is than drywall mud. It kind of looks the same to me. I just don't know. It's for ceilings, so we're going to use it. I think you could probably get away with drywall mud, like the regular drywall mud, if you wanted to. You can buy this material. It comes in, you can get it in like sacks, paper sacks, and then you can mix it yourself. You can get, some of it has aggregate in it, which means it has little pieces of foam, or like there's different ways that they put aggregate in it, which your popcorn ceiling has like little chunks of stuff in it. It's not just smooth mud. So this is just smooth mud, and this is what's also going to help us to get that lighter texture. If you put an aggregate in it, then you start to get like, looks like cottage cheese going on the ceiling, which is the popcorn. That's old style. We don't do that anymore. All right, so give you a walkthrough here. So this has all been prepped out. This is just kind of how it looks. I spent most of a day getting this all prepped. So what I did is I started with a band of paper, around the top there, and it's just masking tape, right up at the kind of at the edge. You want to come just a little bit below the ceiling so that you're not onto the ceiling. The idea is that your texture is going to spray into that corner up there, and then when you're all done, then we'll clean that up. We'll clean up that corner. We'll have a nice crisp edge there. Once the paper is up, then we drape the plastic, and that's just to keep the walls clean. We've masked the lights, and that's another reason it's a little bit dark in here today, is because we've got all of our lights masked. So that we don't get texture on them. It just saves up on the cleanup. Okay, and here's in the bathroom. It's really dark in here, but you can just kind of see here how we're all ready to go. So the machine that I use to put this paper on, it's not a machine, but it's this, I'll show you it here. So it's this device right here. And the way this works is your roll of paper is on a spool here, and the tape is on another spool. And basically the way this works is that half of the paper, let me see if I can show it to you here. So you can see how the tape, I'll get you in here. You see how the tape is on the paper, and then it's a bit of tape sticking over there. And so then what happens is you pull it off of this, and you just, pull along, and stick it to the wall. Okay, a very easy way to do this. A really handy little machine here, called a 3M Handmaster. And then it has a serrated edge on here where you can use it to cut the paper. You get to the end of the roll, you just rip it off, cuts it nice and neat. All right, so you can just see how, a lot of masking around these bulkheads and stuff here. So we're going to be spraying the bottom side of the bulkheads, the top side of all of the vertical surfaces of the bulkheads we're not going to texture. Now you'll see a lot of people will texture the whole thing there. I don't like that look. It looks very heavy when you get all of that textured. So I will be painting all the flat sides the same color as the wall color. And here's a little sample of the wall color under the plastic there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that's going to be our wall color there. Sherwin-Williams Agreeable Gray. Okay, and just give you a little walkthrough here, show you how we've prepped this all out. This is all ready to go. So once I get going on this, it's going to go quite quickly. Master bedroom. Find my way in here. Here's the ensuite bath. Okay, so how much does this cost? Frequently asked question. How much do things cost? So to do what we're going to do today, not including any of the ceiling prep or anything that we've done before this, it would include the masking that we did yesterday, and it would include usually it would include putting a fresh coat of paint on before you do the texture. But for that amount of work, like mask it, paint it, and spray it today, in our neck of the woods here, you're looking at about $120, $125 a square foot to do this, to have this job done. What we're gonna do here today. So this home is 924 square feet. So you take 924 times $120, and you're well over $1,000 to have this done today. I spent about, 4 hours yesterday on the masking, and today it's going to be about 3 hours of 3 to 4 hours of spray and cleanup. So I'm going to have about 8 hours into this. And materials, we're looking at less than $100 in materials. So if you can do this yourself, this is a job that you can do yourself. It's pretty hard to mess it up. And it's something you can save some money on. And the look of it when it's all done, it's just, your sense of accomplishment is huge after you do something like this. It just completely changes the look of the home. All right, so I'm going to get set up here with spraying, and I'll give you hope to give you some shots of me actually doing some spraying here, and show you how this goes. Okay, so moving right along here, I've got a couple rooms sprayed out. I'm just going to show you how this is looking here. So I've sprayed this little bottom along here, and you can see the splatter. So that's the reason that we do all that masking there. You can see how it's splattered pretty good on the wall here. If you don't do your masking, then you have a huge mess on your walls to clean up.. Okay, so this is wet. But you can just kind of see how, you know, it's not very heavy at all. Right, this little room's all done. I've moved my compressor into here now. And we'll take you into this room here. Alright, so not sure how well this is going to show up. Lighting's not that good in here today. But, you know, you can see it's still wet, it's still drying out. But you can just kind of see how, you know, up along the edges here, how that looks. So we're just going to let this dry now, you know, and carry on the rest of the home. And, you know, you can see, again, I don't know if you could see before all those little imperfections in the ceiling, but, you know, they've just completely disappeared now. Right? Again, a very, very fine texture here. You know, once it dries out and we get you know, that coat of ceiling paint on it, you'll hardly know that it's textured. It's very, very subtle. All right, so I'm going to carry on here, folks, and try and next shot here. I'm going to try and show you exactly how the process works, how this looks when I'm spraying. Okay, folks, I'm not sure how this is going to go. Sometimes it would be really nice to have a cameraman, but you're going to get what you get here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this panel up here. I'm going to spray this panel up here above the living room, and with the camera like this, and then on the next panel over there, I'm going to try and put it on my head. We'll see how that goes, so just stick with me. Just have to plug my compressor back in there. All right, so here we go. So the way this works is I have an air valve here. There's an air valve here. This controls the air, and then when I pull on this, it controls the feed from the hopper into the gun, and then it sprays out the nozzle in the front here. So you can adjust all of this, and I've got it adjusted so have a really fine pattern here. So here we go. pretty heavy. So you just want to kind of look and make sure that everything's even. And you want to keep moving so you don't get any build up like heavy spots. Just basically just like that, you know. You see any places that's kind of light, then you just need to give it a little shot more. Get set up and I'll show you. I'll put the camera on my head and we'll go over there. So hopefully you can hear me over the compressor there, but you just want to get it all even. And if it's not even, you just look at it and just if it looks light in some spot, just just give it a little shot. All right, I'll change my camera angle here. All right, folks, so we've changed our camera angle here, got sort of a more of a point of view type of a look. So show you how this goes. hopper full of mud is heavy. Okay, I made it around the edges. Now I'm gonna go and fill in. Just letting the compressor catch up a little bit there. All right, now that I've gone, back and forth this way, I just go a little bit that way, just in case I have any light spots, just to sort of blend it in. Alright, I'm just checking for any light spots. It's very easy to go back now and just, give it a little bit more. All right, folks, so that's the point of view shot there. Yeah, that's really all it is. You can see how fast this goes. Your prep and your cleanup are a lot of the work for this, but it's really not that hard to do. It's something that if you are thinking about doing your ceilings, just do it. get yourself some equipment and just go for it. All right, folks, I'm gonna carry on with the rest of it to the back here, and I'll come back one more time and show you how it's finished up. Actually, it's gonna be a couple more times. I'm gonna show you the painting process as well. All right, folks, stick with me. All right, moving right along here with these ceilings. So I've got them all sprayed, and it's probably pretty hard for you to see the texture here. So it's very, very light, very subtle, far away from what that popcorn ceiling was. And I ran into a bit of a problem. So after I applied the PVA primer, and before I did the spray text, I applied a coat of this Sherwin-Williams quick dry stain blocking primer. That is a latex product, so that's in the green can here. I used 2 gallons, two and a bit, 2.5, to completely go over the ceilings here, and that's the stain blocker was to prevent the old yellow from coming through onto our finished ceiling. Well, I sprayed the ceilings with this texture, and that's a very wet process. I went through 2 boxes of that mud to do that. So we put a lot of water on the ceiling again, and what happened was it bled through. So it bled through through that stain blocking primer, and it was looking very dingy and very yellow. So what I have done is, after I let the ceilings dry out from the texture, I have applied a coat of this Kills Original interior primer. So this is a stain blocking primer. This is an oil-based primer. So when you have problems with heavy staining, heavy odors, my past experience is that this just doesn't cut it. This latex just doesn't cut it. So I had to give it a coat of this to block that stain, that was the bleeding that was coming through. So again, my paint guy said, try this. I didn't think that the ceilings were that bad, but as it turns out, they were worse than I thought they were. So I had to do this extra step. So I used 3 gallons of this to go over top of the texture and seal that stain that was coming through. So now that that's done, today I'm going to do the last step, which is going to be, I'm going to use my airless sprayer, and I'm going to apply this product here. Now, I've used this product before. This is a beautiful product for ceilings. This is the Sherwin-Williams Eminence. So this is this is a latex-based product, mold and mildew resistant technology. So it helps to prevent the any mold or mildew happening in your wet areas, like in your bathrooms, for example. And I don't tint this. Some people tint their ceiling paints. I like my ceilings crisp and clean and white, so I don't like to put any tints in. And this is just bright white. This dries to a perfectly dull finish. So again, it helps to hide some of those imperfections that you might have. And I know it's pretty hard to see, the texture, because everything is white. And lighting's not good in here because I've got, paper on all these light lamps. I can't turn the lamps on. So that's what's up for today. I'm going to be applying that with the airless sprayer, and that's going to be the end of it for me here. Whatever it is at that point, it is. But these ceilings, these old ceilings with this old drywall and old mud, they're a lot of work, to get them nice and clean and fresh and new looking. So we started out with scraping that popcorn ceiling off, the old popcorn ceiling, and then we had to do some repairs. And then we did a coat of PVA primer, and then I did a coat of stain blocker, the latex stain blocker. Then I did the spray texture, and then I had to do a coat of the oil-based stain blocker, And now today, just to finish this off, I'm going to be giving it a coat of the eminence. That 5-gallon bucket, that should do it. I should have a little bit left over. So yeah, it's you know, and the number that I mentioned before here, you know, $1.25 or whatever it was, that doesn't include any of this extra painting and all that stuff. So you know, realistically, if you were to hire someone to come in and do this from scratch, you know, in a home this size, you know, 924 square feet, to take it from those old popcorn ceilings to what we're going to have here as a finished product, you're probably looking at about $3,000. It's just a lot of hard work that you can do yourself. You know, materials, you know, the materials all told are going to be, I don't know, I'd have to add it up. It's going to well under $500, you know, materials. So if you had to rent some tools, you know, the compressor and the hopper to spray the texture and whatnot, you know, it's something you can save yourself a lot of money on. It's very forgiving, you know, if you make some mistakes, you're not going to really see it up there. You know, just more of getting things on evenly, and yeah, there's really not a lot to it. Definitely something that's a do-yourselfer can do. So today I'm going to be using my airless sprayer to apply this eminence, and you know, this is something your average do-it-yourselfer isn't going to have. It is certainly something that you can rent. You know, I do quite a bit of painting, so I have my own machine here, but once I get set up, I'll show that to you, and then I'll actually show you some spraying here. All right, stay tuned, folks. All right, folks, so this is my little airless setup. So this is just this is a fairly inexpensive little airless sprayer. So there's no compressor with this. This just basically uses it pressurizes the liquid. So I've got my bucket of paint here, and so it just feeds paint out of there into this little machine, and then from there there's this hose, this red hose goes to the spray gun, which is right here. Okay, so this is how you know, this is what I use to spray, and I'm not going to get too into this, how this all works. But basically, we have a pressure slide on here, which we can track our pressure. So, you know, I'm using fairly low pressure here. It goes from 0 to 3,000 psi, and so just a very low pressure. And as it calls for paint, when you pull the trigger, this pump will start to pump, and it takes pumps paint out of the bucket into this machine, and then out this hose to wherever you're spraying. All right, so now I'm not sure this is going to show up here, but yeah, I think it's going to show up. So you can see there where what I've done here is I've sprayed around the perimeter of this room, of this panel here, this section. And so you can see where I've sprayed there, it's quite white. In the middle, we have that kind of yellow look. So that yellow look now is the stain sealer, stain blocker. And that is actually sort of a cream color. That primer is kind of cream. So a lot of people would just leave that primer, but you can see there's quite a difference between you know, where I've painted, like there I've sprayed a little bit out from the wall. So you can see that you know, sort of that creamy color. When we're going to get done here with this, you can see how this is just going to be a totally bright white. Now this is wet in here, so it has a shine on it coming in from the door, but once this dries out, that's going to be totally flat, but it's going to be nice and bright and white. So, you know, when you go all the work of cabinets and flooring and all that stuff that you do when you renovate a house, you know, a lot of people kind of lose it on the ceilings. You know, they don't go ahead and put the time and effort in to get those ceilings looking nice and bright and crisp and white. So, well, there you can see a pretty good shot there. You can see where I've gone around the perimeter. So that's the bright white ceiling paint. In the middle, I still have to paint that yet, so I'm going to change the camera angle here, and I'll do another point of view thing to just show you how that looks. Okay, so I've done this little bit down here, and you can see I'm spraying down on the wall a little bit. Now when I go to do my wall color, I've got a nice finished edge up there in the corner, you know, where the ceiling meets the wall. And so now I'll just have a nice line in there with my wall paint. It's all nice and finished, you know, down about 6 inches onto the wall there. Alright, so I've just kind of cleaned up a little bit in here. I'm just going to show you here. You know, this is drying out, so it does have that shine to it. But you can see already there's, you know, places where it's starting to dry out, dull down. It'll be completely dull when it's all dried out here. I'll give you a shot of that as well. But you can see there how I've come down on the wall a little bit. And so that just gives us, you know, again, that nice finished corner in there so that we can, you know, when we do our wall paint next, then we come up to that nice finished edge. So for me, the ceilings are I really like doing the ceilings, and you know, it really changes the look of the place. And like I say, if you don't go the extra mile on your ceilings and do everything else, leave shabby ceilings, you know, don't go all the way, it just doesn't work. All right, so I'm going to change the point of view on the camera here and give you a little look at me spraying here. Okay, so when you're doing this, you do want to have some you know, safety precautions. I'm using a respirator. It's not deadly stuff, but it's just dust. When you're spraying, basically you get this mist that falls, and by the time it hits the floor, it's dust. So you know, you want to do some safety precautions. Okay. So there's my machine down here. Here's my gun. And I'm going to spray out this panel here. Okay, so you can see that there's not a lot to that, folks. You know, you just kind of want to do. There's lots of. There's a big learning curve to learn how to operate an airless sprayer. It took me quite a while to get the hang of it, and I'm still not 100% comfortable with it. But you know, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So the thing is, you want to learn something, just do it. You learn by doing. That's my philosophy. And so, you know, that's the thing. Like I said, it's something that not a lot of do-yourselfers are going to do. But if you don't want to get into this, you just roll it. It's simple to just roll it. But you can see how fast that goes. And what I like about this is that you don't have any of the roller marks and stuff that you can get. You know, this just is very even when it's done. It's just very even. I did roll the other coats. You know, all of this is the first time I've had the airless sprayer here. So, you know, for all my PVA primer, I rolled it. Stain blocker, I rolled it. Especially with the oil stuff, you know, if you use oil in that machine, that the cleanup is, you know, there's a lot of cleanup when you use oil paint. So I probably won't use this machine again until I get to spray my doors and stuff. All the walls are all rolled. I like the roll finish as opposed to the spray finish on the walls. The roller finish gives you that sort of that pebbly look, and it also, in these mobile homes, it helps us to disguise. If you remember, we had that kind of embossing on the gypsum panels, and so that just, you know, that takes care of that when you roll it. The trim, you know, I'll be painting the trim by hand, but my doors, all my doors, I do spray with that machine. So that's it. I'm going to carry on here now, and I'll show you when we're all done. We're almost finished with this now, and I'll give you a look when it's all done here. All right, folks, so that's it. Got the coat of eminence sprayed on here. It's just drying out, so you know, it's still kind of a little bit patchy here and there, but once it dries out, it'll all even out. And so now we've got those crisp white ceilings that we were looking for. And so I've done some cleaning here, and got some of these pot lights back in. And I'll just give you a little look. You can see here along the edge here, this is still drying out in here. This is still pretty wet. And same thing here, still pretty wet. You can see the shine up there. But this is all gonna dry out, be nice and even. So that's the ceiling, and that was, you know, that was quite a bit of work. But you know, that's what it takes, and you know, to get it to this point, you know, and now we're good for another 30 years, unless people are gonna smoke and, you know, do greasy cooking and stuff in here. But yeah, so now next up, I'm gonna paint the walls, the first coat, and so this is the color we're gonna go with here. So we had some other paint we thought, but the top one's not good. That's too pinky beige, so it's gonna be this color. It's gonna be the wall color, and then we'll have the white trim, white ceiling, white cabinets. So that one more video, and that's gonna be it for our little series here on refinishing the walls and ceilings in this mobile home. And then after that, we're gonna get into some carpenter work. Next up is gonna be trimming out the windows. So thanks for watching, folks, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.